Hey guys, okay, we are obviously not in the shop at the moment, but that's because I wanted to bring you in my basement so you could see exactly what we're making. This right here behind me is a very basic, easy, simple tote storage shelf thing. So if you have too much crap and you need to figure out a way to store it, here we go. I'm gonna make this video so simple and easy. Nobody will ever ask me to make these things again. We're gonna use very basic, simple tools. I'll show you a couple different options and what we can do as we go along. So let's go out to the shop and figure out exactly what tools we need and what supplies we need. Let's get dusty. All right, so if you guys can't do math, this shelf will hold 20 18-gallon totes, okay? Now, we're going to build this in two different ways. Now, if you want to do the least amount of cutting, you'll make it at the complete 8-foot wide, and you'll have gaps in between every tote, or you can do it like I do it, and I cut it down to 7 foot. What that does is that just keeps it smaller and tighter. If you have the room, go 8 foot. That way you don't have to make as many cuts, okay? What tools are you gonna need? The very basic minimum tools that you are going to need, you are going to need a circular saw, and you are going to need a drill, and also a tape measure, okay? I'm not putting pencil as a tool. A pencil's not a tool. Those are what you need. Now, obviously, I have more tools than that. I'm going to use other things that are going to make it easier for me, but I will show you with the simplistic tools. But I have to make 3 of these for a client who obviously has too much crap, okay? So, what materials are you going to need? Let me step over here so I can put them up here for you. You are going to need 13 2x4x8s. Could you use the wall studs at 92 and whatever? You could, but for the sake of this video, you're going to have to buy the 8-footers. Sorry. What else are you going to need? You're going to need 2 sheets of 7/16 OSB. Can you go thicker? You can go thicker. Can you go thinner? If you go plywood, you could probably go 3/8, but we're going 7/16 OSB. And then you're also going to need some 2.5-inch screws. Okay, what size box? If you're building one, you can probably get away with the 1-pound box. If you're building more, obviously you're going to need more. That's what we're going to need for this thing. And the one tool I would recommend getting is this. Get a speed square if you're going to go with a very minimal tools. This will help you out quite a bit. So let's go unload the truck in the snow and start cutting some material. All right, fun fact, there was no snow yesterday. And it was like 10 degrees warmer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2x4s out. We're going to cut, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut 6 of those stretcher pieces at 7 foot. Again, if you don't care about the room and you want to make an 8 foot, skip this step. I'm going to show you just once on how to cut the 2x4s with the square, without the square. And then just know when I say cut 2x4s, cut it that way, because I'm going to use the chop saw. Alright, so if you're going to cut the 2x4, you're not going to use any type of speed square. This is what you do. You're going to measure from here, put your mount line here, and then from here, and put your line here. Okay, so what that's going to do is give you 2 lines at the same measurement, okay? And then you're going to take a board. You can use one of those 8-foot 2x4s. I don't care. Take it, connect your dots, draw your line. Okay? That's how you're going to do it if you don't have a speed square. If you're just running basic, simple, that's how you do it. Now, if you have the speed square, call it a carpenter square. I don't care what you want to call it. If you have it, okay, you're going to throw that down. And that's what's going to allow you to make your very easy 90-degree cut. Just got to make sure you know what side to put it on. Okay? Get your blade along that line that you drew. And there you go. So whenever I say cut a 2x4, that's how we're going to cut them. I'm going to use the chop saw. And since we're making something that you're going to hide in your furnace room or in your basement, not something that you're going to hopefully have in your living room, this doesn't have to be super perfect. So what I would do is after you have your first board cut, use that board, line it up on the edge, and then draw your line. That will help you with all of these repeatable cuts. Now, when I tell you for the next, you know what, we'll get there when we get there, okay? So that's the little trick that I would use. Again, this is going to be hidden. More than likely, you don't want to show everybody all your bin storage, okay? If it's in your garage, maybe take a little more time. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm going to cut all these on there, and I'm going to set up a stop block, and you don't care about that part. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the smaller boards that run the other direction for the shelves. Each shelf needs 4 of them. You're doing 3 3 times 4 is 12. You need 12 2x4s at 21 inches long. Now, when you are going to go cut these, do not take a full 8-foot board. We'll say this board, that looks like a 2x4. Do not take your full 2x4, pretend this is 8 feet, and mark 22, 44, 66, and 88. Don't do that. Let me tell you why. Because your blade on your saw is about an 1/8 inch thick. So when you run this one, and then run this one. Now this one is going to be short by about 1/4 inch, possibly. This one, and then it's just gonna magnify as you go, unless you take in consideration that blade thickness. So what I would do is do exactly how we did it on the longer, the 7-foot boards. Cut one off, take that one, put it back on, make your template that way. That's how I would do it if you're gonna run them. And again, use the 2x4 method that I taught you earlier. If you don't remember, scroll back to the video, watch that part, and then we'll cut those. So you need 12 2x4s at 21 inches long. Okay, so now if you're going to run these at 8 foot, ignore this. If you're not, pay attention. Okay, we're going to cut these 2x4s to 7 foot, which is 84 inches. Fun fact, I just screwed up, shot the whole thing, which cut it at 6 foot instead of 7 foot. I'm an idiot also. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this thing at 84 inches. Now, you can do that the same way we did the 2x4. You can measure on this edge, measure on this edge, take a 2x4, draw a line, and then cut that. Perfectly fine. Here's how I would do it, because you already have the 2x4 here. So take your circular saw, unplug it, or don't be stupid. Okay? Measure from your blade to the edge of the saw, which is right here. We're going to say it's 1.25 inches because it's pretty close. Okay? Don't measure from the motor side, measure from this side. Okay? So now take your measurement of 84 inches, subtract your 1.25 inches. That gives you 82 3/4 inches. So now you're going to measure 82 3/4 inches from this side, 82 3/4 inches from this side, okay? And then you're going to draw 2 dash lines. If you're wondering, can't I just take a foot off the side? Well, normally your plywood and your 2x4s aren't necessarily cut at 8 foot, so that could screw you up. But essentially, yes, if you wanted to, you can do that too. Okay, now take one of your 7-foot 2x4s, and you're going to line them up on the good side of the wood. So this will be your cutoff. We're going to have your mark is here, your good wood is here. Lay the 2x4 like so. Okay, and you want your 2x4 to be straight. Don't get yourself a crazy crooked 2x4 to do this. You don't have to drive the screws too deep because you're taking them out. All right, now you got that. Now that's what that's doing. That's creating a fence for you. Now take the same side that you measured and run that edge, not the motor side, the other side, against this fence. There you go. You can repeat that on both your sheets of OSB. All right, so I apologize for the furnace noise. It's 30 degrees, I'm cold, furnace is on, project has got to keep on a rolling. So now we're going to take these OSBs that we just cut, and we're going to splice them hot dog style at 2 foot. You're ripping them directly in half like you would a hot dog bun, not a hamburger bun. We just cut them hamburger style. Now what I would do though is I have metal sawhorses, and if I run the blade through there, I'm going to cut through the metal. You can always take one of your 2x4s, place them on each one of your sawhorses and call it good. I actually just have some foam. I'm going to tape the foam to the top so I can just run my saw. Now you're going to cut these the same way that you cut them, hot dog style. Measure your sides, run your board if you want. I have a track saw. I'm just going to use that, but you would cut them the same way as you cut them earlier. Again, if you don't remember, just go back 2 seconds and watch that part. If it feels like I don't want to make these, that's because the client who has a bunch of crap, aka my sister, has been asking me to make one of these for her for years, and I've been putting it off. Now it's Thanksgiving and I have to make them for her. Alright, now that my sawhorses and my blade is protected, throw the boards up, same way, rip them in half. I think 1/2 inch OSB actually comes pre-marked 1/2 inch with being able to cut it in half. I'm not sure. You know when you don't want to do a project and it just keeps getting worse and worse, making me even more mad. That's how we are today. That's alright. It's okay. Always make sure you measure from the same side. Also, you don't ever want to measure from the opposite side. Like right now, I measured from that side. I'm going to measure from that side over. Because if I measure from this side over, if the board isn't exactly 48 inches, you're going to get a weird size cut. Alright, now what I did was I laid down one of the boards that we just cut on the sawhorses. Now grab two of your 7-foot boards. 84 inches, not 72, I'm an idiot. Grabs two of those, spread. Okay, grab 4 of your 21-inch 2x4s, and grab your screws and drill. Okay, now obviously we're making the shelves here, so you need to put one down here, one right there, and 2 in the middle. Now make sure that you're putting your 21-inch board in the center of them. Okay, don't run it like this. Run it like this. Alright, I got the ends all together. Now, if you're wondering, well, what's the spacing on the 2 in the middle? Whatever you feel like, because I don't really care. Just kind of get them where you think is going to be the most bestest. Try to center them as much as you can, but realistically, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to screw these in. Now, if you want to use nails, like I have a nailer, and I'm going to do that on the next one. I feel like this whole video, I'm just trying to show off the tools that I have. But this, you can nail these together. The rest of the build, you will not want to nail at all. You want to use screws, because you're not going to be able to build, unless you're like putting this in your shop or your garage while you're building this. This thing is going to have to get assembled wherever you're going to want it, and I'll show you why when we get there. But you can screw these ones in. I have to build 9 of these, you have to build 3 of them. I'm going to screw these and then I'll get the nailer out, but screw these in. Again, the spacing doesn't matter. Do not screw the OSB to here yet. Alright, now if you did everything perfect, you should end up with 3 of these and 3 pieces of plywood, and you should have 4 full-length 2x4s left over. Obviously, those full 4-length 2x4s are going to be your little legs. Alright? So now I'm going to show you how to put that all together. Now again, you're going to want to do this. If you're doing this in a basement, build this. Take all this right now to the basement. If you're doing this in a garage, you probably have room. You just figure it out, because you're not going to want to build it and not be able to get it in where it's got to go. Now, for the height of the legs, it's going to depend on the height of the ceiling. Now, you need at least 7 foot of clearance for this to completely work correctly, which I would assume, unless you live in a very small, tiny house, you will have the clearance. Because these things can either be attached to the rafters in a basement, like I did, which I will show you right now, or if you wanted to, you could screw through the back and screw these into the wall of a garage or a barn or whatever. So you have options here. So however long you want the legs to be cut is going to be up to you. Don't cut them off at the top of the top shelf, because you want them to be able so that nothing will fall over, ideally. Now let me show you how we are going to put the legs on. Now if you're like me, there's just one of you. If you have another person to help you, that would be amazing. But if you don't, here's how I'm going to do it. So you remember all of the 7 foot 2x4s we cut earlier in the video? You should have had some cutoffs. You're going to make these. You're going to screw these 2x4s together at 17 inches. You want 17-inch spacers. If you have wood laying around, cut it at 17 inches, because 4 of them would be helpful. You should be able to do at least 3. I have 4 because I cut, obviously, more. You want these to be 17 inches. You're going to use this as spacer boards. Now let me show you how you're going to do this. So take 2 of your legs. Not these legs, the full-length boards. These legs. Let's hope this works in my shop, because I have 8 foot ceilings. Okay, lean your boards up against the wall. Take your spacer blocks, and now you're going to lean them. Now you want the feet like this. If this is the leg, you want it to sit, and this is the floor, and this is the leg, you want it to sit like this. So you'll be able to rest your shelving unit on here. if you flip it and you go to rest your shelving unit, it's going to slip in here. Let's use some common sense here. Or take your 2 spacer blocks, we'll put them up against your legs. Okay, so now for your 3rd spacer block, you should have another piece of 2x4 cut over from other stuff like this. So you got your 17 inches from here to here, and then have one that kind of comes up. Make sure you know which one is 17 inches. I think this will be very beneficial to us as we move forward. Now you're going to take a shelf, place them on your legs, right there. Take your this cool one with the extra foot, like that. Screw gun, screws. Now I'm only setting this thing up temporarily to show you guys how to do it. So, but when you do these legs, you can either put both of them on this end right here, or you can do one up here on this end and one back here. You just want to don't put them on the long ends, because then it's going to be hard to get those 2 end bins out. Also, you'll want to try to square that up as much as possible, kind of eyeball it, but you'll have some wiggle room later on. All right, now take your spacer blocks and you'll add them over here. This will be the hardest one to do, is the bottom one. Alright, now we've got the 4 legs on the bottom shelf. Now if all of our math's correct, watch, it's going to screw me on this. Bam! Now you can screw that to the shelf, which I'm not going to do because this is demonstration purposes only. Now take your spacer blocks again. You're now going to do the same thing that you just did before. Only this time, in theory, it should be easier. There you go. So then you'll screw that on. Then you'll also screw the top on, and then repeat one more time. And again, you're going to want to screw up here into either the joist rafters, or you'll want to screw through the back wall into a wall to stabilize everything. But I try to do that after I had this thing basically set up. So it will be a little tricky if you're doing it in a basement to get it to be right in between the joists, but you can do it. So I actually did the math. Each one of these shelves holds 20 totes. That means that the person I'm making this for has 60 totes worth of crap to store. They're not a business. That's a lot of crap. Just get rid of that much crap. But if you insist on having all these, and this would also do really well in a storage unit. And again, just as a heads up, don't use nails for these legs, or even use nails on the tops. Use the screws. That way you can pull it apart and move it later on. Just a heads up on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this more of an aggressive style video. I hope you enjoyed how easy that I think I made this for you. And I sprinkle a little tips and tricks of carpentry along the way to spruce things up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.